welcome. My name is David Silberman. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Clinical Research Fastrack, and I'm so excited to be offering this version of Fastrack to Success. This is a podcast that we do where we interview extraordinary people in the industry doing extraordinary things. Many of our graduates have been on the show, and today we have a very special guest, Genielle Rodriguez. Genielle is the Director of Education at Clinical Research Fastrack. Everyone in the classroom knows her as a caring, compassionate professional, but what people may not know is before she came to Clinical Research Fastrack, she was working on breakthrough medications in the industry, supervising sites, working on clinical trials. Genielle, welcome to Fastrack to Success.
Thank you, David. I'm happy to be here.
It's so great to have you here, Genielle. What we're going to be talking about today is one of the biggest breakthroughs that we've had in the last decade in medicine. And I'm talking about the GLP-1s. These are drugs like, you may have heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, Z-Pound. These are breakthrough medications that are helping people manage their diabetes, lose weight, and now they're being used for all these other indications. Well, I want to take us back in time because you were working on these breakthrough drugs. Can we go back in time and can we just start out? Can you just give us a little bit about your background? What were you doing before Clinical Research Fastrack? Where were you working on these breakthroughs?
So I started my career as a clinical research coordinator back in 2016, and I was working in nephrology. And then I ended up moving over to gastroenterology, where I was a site director, and I worked on trials looking at fatty liver disease.
Okay, fatty liver disease, that's a very serious indication. And now there's an acronym for it called MASH. It's a metabolic disease. The M is for metabolic. But back in 2021, you are working on a drug for MASH. Is that right?
Yes, it was the Essence trial for Novo Nordisk, and I was the U.S. National Study Coordinator and Global Expert Panel. Yeah, so I was asked by Novo Nordisk to take a seat on their panel to help internationally with different sites enrolling patients for this trial, which we were looking at semaglutide in patients with fatty liver disease.
You're working on a semaglutide and it's a GLP-1. What exactly is a GLP-1? What is a semaglutide?
A GLP-1 helps mimic the hormones in your body that regulates your blood sugar and your appetite and other metabolic areas in your body.
Now, in 2017, this GLP-1s were first approved for diabetes, and then it was going through FDA approvals for weight loss. And you, back in 2021, were working on it for fatty liver disease. What was it like working on a breakthrough medication? Did you know what was coming? What were you feeling at the time?
Yeah, so it was right around that same time that it was approved for weight loss and obesity patients. And so we were really kind of unsure what this drug was going to look like. We knew that it was being studied in other indications, but I don't think anybody at that time knew what type of impact it was going to have in so many different areas.
Tell us about the experience of working on this drug. Are you in a laboratory? Are you in a hospital? What are you doing? You're working in clinical research. You're testing the drug. Can you explain what this is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not in a lab at all when this was happening. I think a lot of people have that common, idea of clinical research where you're working in a lab and you're, pipetting things and, you're all suited up. But in reality, we're at a clinic and we're talking to patients with this disease and asking them to volunteer to participate in these clinical trials to see if there's a possibility that this medication will help them, right? And the possibility that they might not even be on the medication, that they might be on a placebo. And so during that time, we were just enrolling patients with this, indication and collecting the data through clinic visits. So, collecting their weight, collecting, their accountability with their drugs and collecting changes. And so it's really just collecting data and hoping that, this medication will change their outcomes of these diseases.
So you said you're enrolling patients in this trial. Are these people lining up because they've heard about it and they want to do this, or like who are the people that you're working with?
Yeah, so no, not at all. So we are meeting with patients who have this disease, and we're asking them, hey, would you be interested in participating in a clinical trial? We don't even know if it's going to help or not. And sometimes they're super open to it and excited to try something new and, help other people in the future, possibly for drugs like this. But a lot of times it does take some, teaching and educating of the community, because a lot of people don't even know that these trials exist. And so it's a lot of outreach to communities to just teach the patients out there that there's different opportunities in programs like this that can help them.
These GLP-1s have captured the world's attention. Can you talk to me a little bit about the people working on these revolutionary breakthrough treatments? Who are the clinical researchers and who are the teams?
Yeah, so at my team, we had research assistants, coordinators, and of course the doctors, like the principal investigators, which was awesome because I did get to work with those people individually, internationally. And then there's more behind the scenes. So you're looking at the pharmaceutical companies who have the scientists and safety and, medical monitors. And so there are a lot of different roles and it's a huge community in order to help these medications get approved, which I think is great. But lots of different roles definitely have an impact on this.
Tell me more about the people. You meet them. Are they geniuses and like Harvard graduates, or like who are these people?
No, they're people like you and me. They're people who have great skills in, customer care, right, and patients, and they're people. I think a lot of people are surprised that we're not scientists, right? We're just normal day people who care and are compassionate and love to learn. So they're just individual. I mean, they're just normal people.
Why should someone consider entering a career in clinical research?
I think now is the best time to do this with so much different innovations and just the possibility to change patient outcomes, right? I loved my job because I got to work with people, but there's actually a lot of different opportunities outside of patient facing. I think in every different role that you go into clinical research, you're helping so many different people and you get to be a part of that impact.
You're working on semaglutides, GLP-1s. I'm curious, how has this captured the world's attention? Why is this drug so important?
I think this GLP-1 is definitely groundbreaking. We're seeing it help in a lot of different metabolic diseases, whether it is obesity or diabetes, but it's actually being, studied in a lot of other therapeutic areas like cardiovascular diseases and nephrology, which I think is really exciting because this drug has really changed the industry. We didn't see it coming and how many different areas it can really impact. So we're looking at millions of people having the opportunity of something that we didn't even know existed.
That's so exciting. And how has this experience sort of shaped you as a clinical research professional and as a leader in the field?
This opportunity to work with such a large pharmaceutical company, I think was really humbling, but also eye-opening that you really have to have an eye for detail and realize that every patient interaction can have, an impact on these diseases getting approved or these drugs being approved. And so I think that if anything, it really helps me stay driven and be passionate about the work we do because again, without these volunteers, without these clinical trials, we might never ever find cures or treatments for these diseases that at one time we thought were totally untreatable.
And when you're working on it in the moment, did you know this was like a breakthrough? Did you know it was working? Were you like, what were you seeing at the time?
Not at all. A lot of the times, I think you expect it to change really rapidly. And in this case, we knew that one of the side effects, right, or the indications were weight loss. And so a lot of patients, they were hoping to see that as well. But we didn't know that it was going to work at all. We were just kind of being there to collect the data and help the patients. But no, I don't think any of us, in the community knew what this was going to do. I think we had an idea, but the impact has been much larger than expected.
It's interesting because we're working in science and science moves slow. And some people don't like science for that reason. It's a slow moving, but if you want to be part of the future of medicine and advancing medicine, you have to take the time. And there was an incredible approval just recently. And how did that make you feel now that the study you worked on is now approved for treating fatty liver disease?
It was crazy. I got that email on Friday, last Friday. So it's been almost 1 week now that this drug was approved. And I think it's amazing. It always feels good as a researcher when one of the drugs that you worked on is approved. And I'll be honest, that doesn't always happen. But looking back, I mean, honestly, I was kind of surprised that that was 4 years ago that I was working on that trial. And I think it's just amazing because, when you're in that moment, you don't think it's ever going to be approved, but when it does, you're just, it's a little celebration. And it makes me think about the team that I worked with and all of the other research professionals that I got to, work, alongside, but mostly the patients, right? Because without them, we wouldn't be here.
Looking back at your time working on this trial, what are you most proud of?
The quality of data that we were able to give, and just the consistency, and always just the work that we do with patients. I love that part of my job, and I loved helping out the community. And I think, just again looking back, I think just the entire research community that I got to work with was just amazing, and it was an awesome experience to see how research was done all around the world.
When you got into the field of clinical research, you didn't yet even have your bachelor's degree. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did not.
Okay. What advice do you have for people new coming into the field? What would you say?
Yeah, so for me, I knew that I wanted to work in the field of medicine, but I didn't really know where I was going to go. And so I would say, look into different options, do your research, but this is a great field. I got to learn a lot and never thought that I would be here where I'm at now. It took a lot of drive and passion, but I can't imagine doing anything else. And if you love to learn, and you're passionate about helping others, then you should definitely look into clinical research.
Genielle Rodriguez, thank you so much for joining us today. It is such a pleasure to have you with us on Fast Track to Success. Any last words of advice for people thinking about this industry?
I would say definitely give it a try. It's amazing. You're going to meet some great people. You're going to have fun along the way. And you're going to just grow as an individual.